everyone. Welcome so much to Office Hours. So this Sunday is Pi Day, so I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts of all time in honor of that. And unfortunately, I am not able to stream on Sunday just due to life, and that's kind of what happened this week. I apologize for not posting a problem of the week. I had prepped it. I thought I had posted it, and I most definitely had not. So that's okay. I used this time to kind of put together a website. So I'm really excited to launch the website. Hopefully by this weekend, and instead, today we're just gonna kind of get together and talk about pie. I mean, I personally love apple pie. Chocolate pie is also really good. No, I'm kidding. We're talking about the number pi and where we found it. Why do we care? And it's a really interesting number because it's irrational, but it comes from, hi Divya, thank you. It comes from a ratio, which is comparing the circumference to the diameter of a circle. And it's like, wait, how can an irrational number have its roots in a rational sort of situation? So we're going to kind of look into that. We're also going to talk about some applications of pi, mostly talking about angle measurements. Why do we like radians instead of degrees? And also talk about special right triangles in trying to do the Archimedes approximation of pi using his method, but we have to kind of tie in some Pythagoras' theorem in there and some special right triangles. And then we're going to end the night by doing some more Celtic knot work because, man, after this week, I need to kind of zone out and play around with some Celtic knots. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so pi comes from the fact that if we find the circumference of a circle and we divide it by the diameter of the circle, we're always going to get this around the same number. And this demo comes care of the Exploratorium. They are going to be doing a virtual Pi Day celebration. And I have lived in San Francisco for so long, and I have never been able to go to an Exploratorium Pi Day celebration, and I need to. So every year on March 14th at 1:59 p.m., they start a parade around the Exploratorium, and it's such a great event. Pi Day started by them back in 1989 and has now reached international acclaim. So yeah, happy early Pi Day. And any day that's an excuse to eat pie is a good day in my mind. So we're going to see how this happens. So to measure the circumference, we don't have circular rulers, right? So what we can do is we can take a piece of string and kind of put it around the circle, taking care not to stretch it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut it right where it meets. Then what we're going to do, so we have our circumference basically in string form. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our string and lay it across the diameter, again, trying not to stretch it. Of course, I chose super stretchy yarn. So we're going to cut this. So here's our diameter. Then I'm going to cut the diameter again. And of course, the more precise you can be with this, the better. And then we're going to cut the diameter again. And we see that we have about 3 plus a little something something. Okay, so this is one circle, but what if it was a circle of a different size? Surely that's not going to be the same ratio. Well, let's see. I have a cup here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some string and put it around the top here. And I'm going to cut this. Boop. Cut this around so it's the circumference. Okay. Then I'm going to lay it across the top here, trying to get as close to the diameter as I can. That's looking pretty good. And then if I do it again, and then if I do it again, I see that I also get 3 diameters and a little something extra. So we've known about pi since the ancient Babylonian times. In fact, some scholars have believed that we've kind of known about pi since the beginning of like man's existence, kind of like when we started even kind of conceiving about numbers and math and how we work with it. So the ancient Babylonians, they were satisfied with pi being about 3, because they were like, okay, look, maybe the leftovers were because we stretched our string, or we weren't quite at the diameter or anything like that. And also the ancient Egyptians did significant amount of mathematic calculations. In fact, they had to in order to get the dimensions of the pyramids just right, and to build those structures is just kind of amazing. So for both of these peoples, the approximation of 3 for pi was good enough. So these two tablets, or these two artifacts, are some of the most, or excuse me, are some of the oldest pieces of mathematical text that we have. It's believed that tablet P322 is a cuneiform trig table. So trig, or trigonometry, is like sine, cosine, and tangent, and it relates the angle inside of a triangle to the lengths of the sides. And that just blows my mind that even back in the ancient Babylonian times, they were doing trig. The Rind papyrus, or papyrus, excuse me, is from ancient Egypt, and it is probably the only document that we have that maps out kind of the mathematical process of the ancient Egyptians. And in this papyrus, they do kind of talk about this relationship of the diameter to the circumference of a circle. To make a circle, it's very easy to make a circle, but it's hard to use it in architecture because there was no real way to estimate the length around it without excuse me, without actually taking a piece of string and kind of mapping it around, or counting your steps as you walk around a circle. So it really wasn't until, oh, excuse me, um sorry guys, it's been a week. So even the ancient Chinese had this understanding that there is a relationship between the circumference and the diameter. And we call this special number that we were constantly getting, we called it pi. Um, the Greek letter pi for this number really didn't come into popularity until about the 1700s. where mathematicians were like, look, we really need a number to represent this relationship. So it's pi. Now, a rational number is a number that is a fraction. Okay? But it turns out that this circumference over diameter, while it is true, it creates an unending decimal, which in other words is an irrational number. So pi is just this kind of mysterious number in math that it has its roots in a ratio, a comparison of two values, but yet by its own nature is irrational. And in fact, we have calculated pi using modern computational methods. We've calculated pi out to 50 trillion decimal places. That's bananas to me. That's absolutely crazy. So the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and the ancient Chinese were okay with 3. But Archimedes, who is just amazing, he was like, no, we need a more precise measurement of this because it's a relationship, it's a natural occurrence. So I want to understand it. So what he did is he inscribed a regular hexagon, and we'll go over why he chose a hexagon in a moment. He inscribed a regular hexagon in a circle, and then he circumscribed a hexagon, a regular hexagon, outside the circle. Then what he did is he said the circumference of the circle has to be in between the perimeters of the two shapes. Well, it's easy to calculate the perimeter of the two shapes because they're straight lines, so I could just use a ruler for that. The reason why he started with a hexagon is a hexagon is created by 6 equilateral triangles. So the length of the inscribed hexagon is going to be the same as the radius of the circle. And when we look at the ratio of the perimeter of the inscribed hexagon to the diameter of the circle, we get 3. So that's like the ancient Babylonians' estimation. Then he compared that to the perimeter of the outside hexagon, and circumscribed means that it's on the outside of a circle. Inscribed means it's on the inside. Okay. So we're going to go over how he found the length of the outside hexagon a little bit later after we talk about the history of pi. And that's where we're going to talk about Pythagoras' theorem. But basically, he found with a hexagon that pi has to be somewhere in between 3 and 3.456. I mean, this is pretty cool. But he was like, I could do better. So what he proposed is that excuse me. What do I want to say? What he proposed is like, instead of looking at 6-sided regular polygon, what if I doubled the amount of sides? And what if I keep doubling the amount of sides so the shapes become closer and closer to the circle? And as they become closer and closer to the circle, they're going to kind of squeeze the value of the circumference between those two perimeters. So the first thing he did is he divided the hexagons in half, or the side lengths in half, and said, okay, now we have a 12-sided shape. And when he did the 12-sided shape, he found that pi now was somewhere between 3.13 and 3.26. He wasn't satisfied with 12, so he divided 12 into 24. Then he divided 24 into 96. And that's kind of where he stopped. I'm not sure if it was because of um, the limitations of his measuring implements, but when he found the 96 gon, he saw that pi had to be somewhere between 223 over 71 and 22 over 7. This ratio of 22 over 7 was carried as the value of pi for a very, very long time. In fact, a lot of mathematicians until probably about like the 1700s or something like that were like, yeah, this is totally fine. Let's just use 22 sevenths as an approximation. But no matter what, we knew that that was an upper bound approximation for pi, meaning we would always want to round our actual values down when using this value because it's just too big. Okay. So, in about so Archimedes was, I don't remember the dates. I'll have to look up that. But there was a Chinese mathematician, Liu Hui. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Um, he made an adaptation to Archimedes' method. He said like he's third century common era. He looked at the area differentials between the different polygons instead of the perimeters. So what he said is he looked at the area change between the hexagon to the dodecagon, from the dodecagon to the 24gon, from the 24gon, so on and so forth. So, what he found is he found pi to be about 3.1416, which he determined to be too big. Because so he said that pi should be 3.14, which is the value that honestly we use all the time to approximate pi. And that's where Pi Day comes from, 3.14, because it's March 14th. So, sorry, European peeps. Our Pi Day is on March 14th because Pi Day was created by the Exploratorium, which is here in San Francisco, which is in the States, and we do month, then day. Okay. So it didn't stop there. In the 14th century, Madhava of Sangama Grama, again, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce that, um, he discovered that pi is actually an infinite series. And that's what got us to thinking maybe pi isn't actually rational. Maybe it's irrational because it's infinite. And this series does converge to a value. It converges to pi, but we can just keep calculating it and keep calculating it. So this took the world by storm, and Ludolf van Colin in the 17th century Common Era, he actually was the first person to calculate pi to any significant number of decimal places. That was impressive. He calculated pi to the first 35 decimal places. He was so proud of this achievement that his finding is actually engraved on his tombstone. And I'm like, you rock it, man. Um, and another really impressive amateur, or I guess amateur just means that it wasn't his profession. William Shanks in the 19th century Common Era, he spent 15 years correctly calculating the first 527 decimal places of pi. What he would do is he would spend a couple hours every morning calculating the next couple of decimal places, and then he would spend the afternoon checking his work. And yeah, he did that for 15 years. So I guess it makes sense before internet. If you're a gentleman scholar and you don't really have a job, hey, calculate the places of pi. In fact, that's still what people do for fun. So in 1910, there was kind of a big revolution in finding or approximating pi. So another Indian mathematician, Srinivasa Ramanujan, oh gosh, sorry, discovered a different infinite series for pi, and this became a lot closer to the actual accepted value of pi. And again, the way we know the accepted value is calculating the circumference and comparing it to the diameter of a circle to a high degree of precision. So 1910, pretty much everyone was using this method, the Ramanujan method. But then in 1989, the Chodnovsky brothers really revolutionized this series. They made an adaptation to it to find an even more precise infinite series. And in fact, all modern computations or computational methods to calculate pi come from this method. And in fact, in January of 2020, Timothy Mulliken computed 50 trillion digits of pi. It took his supercomputers over 303 days to do this calculation. And it has been verified by the Guinness Book of World Records, which is just crazy. And the Guinness World Record for the number of memorized digits of pi, sorry, my cats are being insane, of memorized digits of pi is 70,000. Someone has 70,000 digits of pi memorized, which is just incredible. So, excuse me. So that's just a brief history of pi, and it's a very mysterious number, but it's a number that we've been trying to uncover the mysteries for a really, really long time. So I said I wanted to kind of go over how Archimedes discovered or was able to measure the lengths of that outside hexagon, and how he was able to actually make a regular hexagon. So let's go ahead and do some compass constructions. Let me just get some paper. Okay. And let's do this. Okay. All right. So when we want to make a hexagon, what we're going to do is we're going to just start with a circle. And I got a much better compass, so hopefully you guys can see that. Let me make it a little bit darker. You know what? I'm also going to turn on some music, so during the downtimes. Sorry. I just feel so bad. This week I'm just like...
I've been living in paradise, and no more waiting on you tonight. And my dreams will never ever die. Can you feel that spark in our bones tonight?
I wonder if I can actually put a marker in here. Hold on.
If I lose myself tonight, oh, I know that you're gonna be there by my side. If I lose myself tonight, I'm gonna reach higher up and see the sky.
So we have our circle. To create our hexagon on the inside, what we're going to do is we are going to use the same width of we're going to use the same width of compass, and then we're going to go around our circle, and I'm just going to place the center point of the compass somewhere on the circle, and then I'm just going to kind of mark out 6 intersection points. Oops. And then when I do this and I go around the circle, I should be basically creating 6 equally spaced out points, which is basically good enough. Okay? And then what I can do is I can connect the points here. Can't see that. The reason why Archimedes chose an equilateral triangle, the reason why Archimedes chose a regular hexagon for this first shape is because a hexagon is actually made up of 6 equilateral triangles. And he wanted to use the equilateral triangles because the side length would be the length of the radius of the triangle. So basically he proposed that, like, hey, if the radius is 1, aka if this is a unit circle, then the side length also has to be 1. Now, to create the outer hexagon, what we have to do, it's a little bit trickier, but basically we need to find the midpoint of this line and then find where that intersects with the circle. That's going to represent basically the flat part of it. And so then we're going to use that to kind of create all those different points. So the way we do a midpoint, I'm actually going to switch back to pencil here. What I need to do is I need to just make sure, actually let me see if I can zoom in here. Okay. So what I need to do is I just need to make sure that my compass is a little bit wider than halfway from the corner to the side. So I'm like, and then I'm going to make 2 arcs, which is a pity you can't really see them. Okay. I'm going to make 2 arcs here. Okay. And then basically so that means that the outside hexagon has to match at that corner right there. And so then what I want to do is I want to find a perpendicular line to it. Totally forgot how to do the outside one. So what we can do is we can make a perpendicular line. Yeah, he would have had a protractor. And then what we would want to do is basically rinse and repeat this method on all 6 sides. But what we can do is we can speed things up a little bit by using the fact that we know it along the diameter. So, a little bit here. Okay. Let's see, I want to do the same thing. So Dia, does Cal do anything special for Pi Day? Another way we could do the center line is I could just map out I could just measure out 30 degrees. Probably should have prepped these a little bit beforehand, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good for you guys to see what's going on behind. But why can't you go out and buy some pie? You know, you could probably get it delivered. Honestly, pie is like one of my favorite things in the world. Okay, and so then I have my... So one thing that's really important for this method is that a tangent is always perpendicular to a radius. So that's going to be creating a whole bunch of right triangles here, which then, oops, helps if I drew this line. Which then is going to be creating right triangles. And right triangles are the best thing ever, because if we can make a right triangle, we can use our Pythagoras' theorem. Oh. Obviously, you need to buy multiple slices of pie or multiple flavors. You know, truly celebrate. Or get 3 and 0.14 flavors, you know, to try stuff out. Okay. So, we know that we know the inside area, or I'm sorry, the inside side length was 1 because we're using a unit circle. We're saying like, okay, it's 1. But what we want to do is we want to figure out what the outside length of the of the hexagon is going to be. Now, one thing we can do is we can extend the corners here. So we can extend the corners a little bit. And we're basically going to have this triangle right here. Yeah, that triangle. Things we know. We know that this side is 1. We also know that this angle is 30 degrees. That's true. That's true. Probably shouldn't buy multiple. Or you know what? If you can find like the little individual pies, that's how you can get multiple flavors without, making people too upset. So what's really important is because we chose an equilateral triangle, we automatically know that that inside angle of this triangle is 30 degrees. This is 90. And also we know that this side length here is 1. So I'm going to just kind of draw this triangle out a little bit. Okay. And this is not drawn to scale, so don't at me, but we know that this is 30 degrees. The reason why knowing that that is 30 degrees is so helpful is we have special relationships with 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. Oh, my favorite place to get pie is Heidi's Pie. Also, Shari's in San Bruno makes really good pie, and they make pie milkshakes, where basically they take a slice of pie, put it in a blender with ice cream, and it's revelationary. Like it's so good. It's so good. And what we really want to find is this side, because this side equals half of the side of the outside hexagon. Okay. So the relationship of a 30, 60, 90 triangle is that the side opposite the 30 equals x. The side adjacent to the 30 is going to equal x times the square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse equals 2x. You can't see any of that. I don't really care about the hypotenuse right now. But what I do care is I do care about x. And so to find x here, I'm going to solve this expression for it. And I get, basically I divide both sides by the square root of 3. So then we get that this x side here is basically root 3 over 3. Now, Archimedes in his writing, he kind of, sort of, calculated the square root of 3, but he also just kind of glazed over it. But he did keep it in there, and he kind of, because he was doing a ratio of everything, it kind of all worked out in the end. So because that only represents half, that means that the whole side here is actually going to equal 2 square root of 3 over 3. So remember, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the ratio of the circumference to the diameter, because that's what pi is. So what Archimedes said, he was like, okay, so the inside hexagon, its perimeter is 6, and then the diameter of the circle here is just 2. So that's going to be 3. And that has to be less than or equal to pi. Well, actually, has to be less than pi. It's not equal to. And that has to be less than 6 times 2 root 3 over 2 divided by the diameter of the circle, which is still 2. Now that looks like a hot mess, so let me clean that up a little bit. So we have the 2's, oops, sorry, that should be a 3. So the 6 and the 3 cross cancel to 2. So then that's 4 root 3 over 2, which is 2 root 3. Using my modern technology, we're like, you know what? 2 root 3 is about 3.464. It's very possible that he might have left it in terms of the square root. So he was like, I can do better. And we kind of saw how long it took to draw the regular hexagon. But if we want to draw a regular, dodecagon, we follow kind of the same method here. So we would start, I think I'm just going to draw the inscribed one. I'm not going to mess around with the circumscribed one because that's a little intense. But yeah, I strongly suggest checking out the Exploratorium's online Pi Day celebration. They always have really cool exhibits and like demos and stuff. Okay, so we start with our base hexagon. But then what we want to do with our little dashes is we want to divide those divisions in half. So the way we do that is we take our compass, and again, I just kind of closed it so it's a little bit more than halfway between the 2 points. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bisect it. And so to bisect it, I draw, you guys can see that. I draw 2 arcs. Ah! Come on, compass. 2 arcs that kind of intersect. And then what I want to do is mark that intersection point. So I'm just kind of marking that halfway point. And then I'm going to take a shortcut. Instead of doing that on each one, I'm going to open my compass to the original width that I had. And then I'm going to do my 6 marks around the circle. And then that's going to mark my vertices of my dodecagon. I don't know if this actually worked out, but it is close enough. Again, every time I do one of these like ancient method sort of things, I'm always just amazed by the ancient mathematicians, how they were able to get such precise numbers with, you know, pretty rudimentary tools. But yeah. So the question then is, how do we find the length of one of these lovely little slices? What am I doing? Oops. Sorry, wrong slice. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to find the length of one of the sides here, so that way we can actually do our comparison. And the diameter of the circle is still the same. We're saying, like, okay, the radius is still 1. Alright? But now we don't have a right angle. We do know that this is 30 degrees. But I can't use that same relationship that I did before because this isn't a right angle. So what I need to do is I need to make a right triangle. And so what I can do is I can use the property that if you split an isosceles triangle in half, meaning if you draw the altitude, so let's see. Hold on. I'm going to extend this a bit. So the altitude is the height, and that is a perpendicular line, or a line drawn perpendicular to the base. And perpendicular means 90 degrees, right? So then I do have a right triangle here. And, oh, we're gonna have to use an identity. Poop. Okay, well, that's okay. That's okay. This is why we're here. This is why we're here, to try things out like this. Okay. Sorry about this line. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So we have a 15-degree angle. The hypotenuse is 1, and we want to find x. So what I could do is I could use trig to try and find the length of this opposite side here. And I am going to have to look up a half angle identity because I do not remember them. If you guys remember the half angle identity, please let me know. Let's see, we are going to do cosine. Okay, So then, basically we can use the fact that the cosine of x divided by 2 equals plus or minus the square root 1 plus cos x over 2. Okay. So then 15 is basically 30 divided by 2. Actually, I'm going to do this on a separate thing here. Oh, actually. I'm going to do this. There we go. Okay, so we're going to use the half angle identity here, that the cosine of 15 degrees equals cosine of 30 divided by x, which equals plus or minus square root of 1 plus cosine of 30 divided by 2. Well, I guess this makes sense because that's then the double angle. Anyways, so the cosine of 30 comes from the special right triangle. Where basically it's the side opposite the 30 equals x. The hypotenuse is going to equal 2. Oh, sorry. We're actually finding real values. Sorry. So with the special right triangles, we have 3 special angles that we like to work with, and usually they're presented on the unit circle, but I find this way to remember them a lot easier. So I go 30, 45, 60. The side opposite the 30 is going to be root 1, then it's root 2, then root 3, and then you go backwards. And then the hypotenuse is 2. So that means in order to find sine, cosine, or tangent of any of these special angles, we want to use SOHCAHTOA. And the way SOHCAHTOA works, this is a memory aid for us to remember the trig ratios. So sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of our angle equals the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Cosine, ka, equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And finally, TOA, tan, tan equals opposite over adjacent. Okay, what I mean by opposite is I'm talking about the side opposite the angle. The adjacent side literally touches the angle. And oh yeah, all of these have to be right triangles. Sorry. Doesn't just work for any old angles or any old triangles. So if I want to find cosine of 15, I can actually find the cosine of 30 using this special right triangle. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of 30 just equals the square root of 3 over 2. So I need to get Melissa, give me 1 second. Oh, what did you guys do here? Sorry about that. So cosine of 15 degrees then is going to equal plus or minus the square root 1 plus the square root of 3 divided by 2 over 2. Now, I'm not going to simplify that or really evaluate it yet because I'm going to plug it in to the special triangle that I'm trying to find, where I have 15 degrees, x and 1. Now, the reason why I wanted to find the cosine of 15 is because the cosine of 15 is going to equal my adjacent side over my hypotenuse, which is 1. So we have cos of 15 equals my adjacent over 1. So essentially this opposite side is going to equal this whole crazy number. So what I can do is I can just put that here. 1 plus root 3 divided by 2 all over 2. And all of that's underneath the square root. I am going to say that it's plus this time just because it's easier to work with the positive roots than it is to really worry about those negatives. Then what I can do is I can use Pythagoras' theorem to calculate x. So to do that, Pythagoras' theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's why I kind of wanted to leave it with the square root and not really worry about it, because I'm going to have to square it, and squaring a square root makes it go away. So I have x squared plus the square root of 1 plus root 3 halves over 2 quantity squared equals 1 squared. So that makes our life pretty easy. 1 squared is just 1. So then I get x squared equals 1 minus 1 plus root 3 over 2 over 2. Mm-hmm. 1 minus 1, that just goes away, right? Oh, but it's all over 2. Huh. Oops. That would have been really bad. So we do want to kind of combine this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 minus 1 plus root 3 over 2 all over 2. That 2 minus 1 just becomes a 1. So basically, x here, I'm going to put that up here. I ran out of room, got to the end of my board. So x squared is going to equal 1 plus root 3 over 2 over 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to square root both sides. Boop. So then x equals the square root of 1 plus root 3 over 2 over 2. Now that's only half of the side of my dodecagon. It's only this half. So the whole side then is going to be 2 times, the whole side here is going to be 2 times the square root of 1 plus root 3 over 2 over 2. And we could go through and simplify that and then use that to find the perimeter, but that's not the goal of this evening. This evening was just to kind of talk about pi and find kind of a cool ancient way to approximate pi. Also, to do some compass constructions, which is super fun. So also, if you guys are interested in me kind of going through some like ancient methods of math, I have some resources on like doing math using cuneiform, which is one of the ancient ways of counting. It's kind of cool. It's very similar to counting with like Roman numerals, the way that the markings represent different things. But it's how they used to do things. Also, like ancient methods of measurement are just like a fascination for me. I love talking about where we got the foot from, where we got the meter from, etc. So yeah, I think that's kind of good for that. I'm gonna attempt to do a really cool decorative Celtic knot pattern. Last week we kind of started with some Celtic knots, and my compass was just really not sturdy, and so it was making it really difficult to actually get some nice circles. So what I want to try and do here, my goal is to make like a Celtic knot border that's continuous. And the knot pattern that I'm going to do is basically based off of a square. So it's going to be like X's kind of intersecting, like this. This is kind of my goal. I want kind of like X, and then like an X, and then I basically want to create like this pattern going all across the paper, but done in perfectly shaped, perfectly spaced out Celtic knots. So let's actually first do the square pattern and kind of see what that gives us. Well, that's a great start. Okay, so again, we're gonna start here, and we need to make a perfect square. So to do that, where is my pencil? No matter how much prep I do, I'm always like trying to look for stuff. So I kind of drop it here. Now, a square has 4 sides. So these are going to mark out 2 corners of my square. And then what I want to do is I want to create a perpendicular line to find the other 2 corners. To create a perpendicular bisector to this line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to open it so that it's more than halfway, or it's past the halfway point, excuse me. So then I place the center of my compass on the diameter. And I draw a pretty clear arc here. Okay. So then the intersection points here are going to mark out where my other diameter should go. All right, so what I want is I'm kind of wanting like an interplay between 2 circles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a second circle just to kind of map it out. I haven't tried to make this pattern before, so we'll see how it goes. Actually, you know what? I don't want this one. I want it to be on, like, I want the X's to be, yeah. So actually, if I do this, hold on. No problem. So then what I need to do is I need to find the intersection point. What we're doing is I'm marking the actual diagonals that I want the circle to take. But then, okay. Let me do that down here. Nope, that's that. Again, I'm just kind of messing around with some patterns. So we're seeing how to make it. Again, the goal is to make kind of this like interlocking Celtic knot. So like the X's kind of map together and then they're going to link together. Yeah, so I'm going to want it. Yeah, I'm going to want it to go like that. Okay. I think I have an idea. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so then, in order to get it to go along this part, I'm going to open it so that do that along here. Yes. Okay. You can kind of see where that X comes from. Now, the question is how to get the next set of X's where we want that to be. So I think what I need to do is I need to extend this out. Okay. You extend that out, and so then that. Yeah. Okay, so what I did is I want to have the next circle start at the corner here, so that way I can just draw another perpendicular line and kind of keep that pattern going. So what I did is I opened my compass to the original width of the rectangle, or the radius of the rectangle. God, circle. Wow. Sorry, guys. And then I placed the pencil on one of the corners of the square. And then I placed the center of my compass on that midline here. So hypothetically, when I draw a circle here, and then I can do the same on this side where it's not quite so crazy. Then what I should be able to do is just draw diameters here. Okay. And then, where did I Okay, that's right. And then I put it on the diagonal, but then I wanted to open it so that way. This is just kind of like my preliminary sketch for how this is going to go. So far, it's going pretty good. And so then we can see that we have like an arc. So it's almost like it's going to continue on like that. Oh, yes. Okay, I think this is going to do quite nicely. And then it's like I have this arc going down here. And then we're going to have this arc here. This arc here. And then like this arc. Like this arc. So yeah, it's kind of starting to come together. Okay, so then the big question is, do I want to go on the outside or on the inside with these arcs? So I think on this side I'm going to try going on the inside, and then when I do it on this side to test, I'm going to try going on the outside. It might be a hot mess no matter what I do, so we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so I am going to go on the outside to just kind of see what sort of shape I get. Actually, what I want to do is I just want to need all of these lines. Oh, wait a second. Oh, why did I... Sorry for that. Just realized that I had this. Okay. Okie dokie. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to go on the outside to kind of see how those patterns resolve. What I'm really concerned about is kind of like this area here, like how they're going to interact. But let's just see. So I'm going to do it pretty thin. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to go like outside than inside. That's a thought. That's definitely a thought. I can already see that. My compass maybe is not quite as accurate as I thought. And then, ooh, 2 for 1. Oh, you know what? Okay, I think I know what happens. So basically, because like this becomes like a whole arc, what you can do is you can just follow it along. So really until I do like a third one. I don't know. Let's see. Bee's kind of making some beautiful curly cues. Okay, so if I go on the outside, like if I look out here, you know, this is kind of your classic Celtic knot pattern here. Right? It's just your classic Celtic knot pattern. But then it's like doing some funky things on the inside here. So it's actually not quite coming together. Oh, I know why. I need to combine these two. So basically, like, this needs to, like, come up to here. Oh, okay. So basically, like, this intersection here needs to be the same for both of them. So, like, this needs to be the same intersection as this part. Okay, so how do I do that? How do I do that? Okay. Take two. So I start with my middle circle. Oop. And then I'm going to draw my diameter. Just kind of eyeballing it. Sorry, didn't mean to pull it down there. Boop. Okay. Then I need to draw a perpendicular line. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the protractor for what it was intended, to measure out lines here. But then I am going to use the compass to do the X's. Oops, I should probably actually measure that. Ooh, I'm glad I measured that. Do not eyeball it. I think that's what I did last time. Okay, so again, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to create a square. But I want my curves to be along the X pattern, because what I want to do is I want to eventually create like a border on the paper. So I would have squares connecting this way and squares connecting this way. So I'm going to kind of test it out here before I get going on drawing everything. And so what we've discovered is that basically these intersection points have to be the same for both. So it's almost like half of the circle, actually I think it is like half the circle basically overlaps. So maybe how I drew the circle originally. So actually I think I might be crazy, I'm going to try something insane here. I'm going to just draw another circle here. And then another circle here to test a theory. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of connecting it all. Okay. Ah! Oh, it also helps if I have it in the right spot. This one. Oh my god. Okay. So I'm kind of like looking at this one going, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I have that. Then what we want to do is draw the X for the middle here. So actually, let me go ahead and make this a little bit darker, just because I like this. And then I'm thinking, I'm actually going to erase these. I think I was a little ambitious thinking that I could just continue it on, but we will, because I think it might actually be slightly different. Okay. So, it's almost like this is going to come up. This will come up like to here. Okay. Let's see. All right. So then I'm going to move on to the next circle. Let's go ahead and draw our perpendicular. Let's hold the protractor like a normal person. And then what I could do... Oh, wait a second. Oh my god. I do like how that... Okay, so this totally makes sense. This diagonal reaches the top of the perpendicular. So if I want to draw the 45 instead of having to do the whole like angle bisector, I can just draw a straight line from the perpendicular of my first one through the center, and that's going to give me a perfect 45. So then let's draw our arcs and kind of see what happens. Because I'm not 100% convinced that this is what I want to happen. I think the idea is there. Okay. So I think I'm almost there. So it's kind of like how it kind of curves. So actually, then, if I carry this one out, that might actually tell me where I should be. So hold on. Let me try something. I'll actually just erase all of this. Ooh. Sorry, cats, that you have to deal with so much eraser dust. Okay. Oh my god. Come on. Okay. It's like if I was to continue. Okay. So then, what I should be able to do let's go from here. Oh no, that's that one. I'm like totally missing what the other arc I want to make. Okay, so let me see. This one is created by going like this. Shoop shoop. So then I create it by going shoop shoop. Haha, okay. So what I do is I really only need to do one circle here, because then I'm like, oh, to find the next one, I just place my pencil on the point, and then I draw it, and then I can place it here on this intersection point. But the problem with this pattern is that they're not going to overlap. This is the exact same thing that I had before. Okay. So then I do need to do it, but just a little bit less over. Why, hello, kitten. How are you doing? So if I was just drawing like a straight pattern or doing kind of like an embroidery technique or something, this would be the way to do it. But yeah, we want this part to overlap. Okay. Start again. Welcome to the stream. This is my stream of consciousness as I try and figure out a Celtic knot pattern. But yeah, I think what we could do is we could take like artistic interpretation with this. What I'm trying to do is I have so many holes in this paper right now. Just trying to find the center. If I really wanted to cheat or at least do this a slightly easier way, what I could do is do this on graph paper where it already has the perpendiculars. But that, you know, let's have a challenge. Okay, so again, I think I am gonna have to like do each circle and kind of map out each circle, but what I might be able to do is first map out the x's, perpendiculars and the x's. Okay. So then here, what I'm going to do,
I just want to go back.
yeah, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to kind of have to do like artistic interpretation of the actual like arcs here. Kind of fudge it a little bit, you know? So like, for example, like down here, they don't match up perfectly, but what we can do is we can kind of smooth it out so that way it's just one it's just one smooth meeting. Yeah, and like what's important is that it basically meets here. So then if I decide to do it a little bit bigger, big like this. Hello, cat. Do you mind? Okay. Have you decided that the stream is over? Is that what you're doing? Okay. Bye. Dude, it's really hard to draw Celtic knots when you're like in my way. Okay. Here we come. Everyone, that was Tabby, or this is Tabby. Hey, don't mess with the camera. Okay. Dude, I can't see. He ignores me most of the time, but I have a feeling he wants food, so he's like, feed me, please, I'm dying. I'm like, you're not. You're very well fed. And so yeah, I can kind of see here where it does like arc together, which is lovely. And then, okay, bud. Hi, buddy. Okay, you need to stop, please. And then, okay. So if I was to kind of make this a little bit darker. So what I kind of see here, it's a little bit hard to see, but what I'm thinking, actually before I do it, I'm thinking we could have kind of like this part comes down. Oh my god, cat. Cat, please no. So I definitely want to like keep this part. Tabby, please, I can't. But okay, lover. Alright, lovely. You are so cute. Yes, you are. But I can't see. So what I'm thinking is it comes down like this. Kind of see it come to life. And then when it comes down, it's almost like I'm going to take the outside to be the inside on one. Bud, okay, you gotta go. Come on, let's go. Okay. And so I'm kind of like making up where it comes down here. Yeah, it's not even like... Oh, you know what? If I moved this second one over just a smidge so that they literally overlapped, so that they're kind of like, the difference between them is basically the width of my Celtic knot. Okay. Oh, I think that's what we need to do. We just need to move it over a little bit, because when we do that, then this part's going to overlap with this, and then it can flow in. Basically, it would flow. Yeah, it would be kind of something like that. Except it wouldn't be all like weird. It would actually come down. Yes. Okay. So that's what we do. We draw circles, and then we draw them not exactly next to each other, but just the width of our knot. And then I think that will work for here too, because then this part will just come down. Okay. So I'm going to try it for real. What I'm going to do what we're going to do is we're going to make it pretty big. I was going to be really ambitious and like do these tiny ones, but seeing how long it's taken me to just get that one, we're just going to do a corner piece here. Okay. Then I do want to find the diagonal, or the perpendicular, I mean. Okay. Because I want to do it this time. Okay. And then what I have to do is I have to do the bisector. It's okay, because they are going to intersect. Let's that out. Okay. So then, what I want to do is I want to draw I think what I want is I'm going to have it be, I'm going to do, we're going to do a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to draw the circle a 1/4 inch away. And I can draw it like this. Imagine me there while you are here. I'm thinking of you, and distance is nothing. I'll go through the whole world to be with you. Imagine no line, right here where we are. Imagine it's gone, but distance is nothing. I'll breathe in my hands, the sunlight just for you. Now I'm drawing the diagonals. And what I want to do is I also want to do a 1/4 inch down here. Let's do that prep work. And then I'm going to try and draw the dots just to see if my theory works. Those aren't 45 degree angles, are they? Ugh, okay. I messed up. Because I shifted over my square, it's no longer 45 degrees, so. Hehehe. The eraser's farting. Okay. Okay, so I do, unfortunately we do have to do the intersection. Was off by a couple of degrees, which could eventually be a big problem. Now the thing is, we could have potentially used that to our advantage to draw the dot, but because I'm unfamiliar with these two. That's 45. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I don't feel like drawing more arcs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of these excess arcs. Alright, so let's try drawing these two knots first, just to see if I'm even on the right track here. I think this is gonna be just fine. Because yeah, see here, it's gonna intersect in that little area, and then you can do the transition. Ooh, this is gonna look cool. And then it still doesn't overlap perfectly on the sides here, but that kind of basically makes that intersection here. I'm so sorry, guys. I gotta blow my nose. I apologize, but it's kind of allergies. So sorry about that. So then we just need to draw oh my god. Okay, okay. So nice. At the corner here, these guys, because they're both off by the same amount, their 45s match up. It'll be interesting to see how it kind of comes together on this one. Oh my gosh, this is gonna look so cool. And see here, it's basically gonna curve up to go around. Okay, yeah. So now what I want to do is I want to, oh, hold on. I didn't do this. That's why that was weird. I was like, wait a second. Okay, so then I want to increase it by 1/4 of an inch. Of course I have it at like some random one. Okay, so then I want to increase it by 1/4. Perfectly. Yeah, I think there's going to have to be some artistic interpretation of like what parts you actually take. Oh my gosh. There's like so many lines going on right now. But we will figure it out. Alright, so now it's time to kind of darken some of the things. So I think I definitely want to maintain this arc here. Okay, so I definitely want to keep that arc going. And in fact, oh, missing. Okay. So actually, what I might do here is I might break it. Make it to have these little like loop-de-loops here. So that it actually isn't here. Oh yeah. Okay. Because what I want to do is I want to kind of create this like quarter pattern. Okay. So let's see, like that would connect. Part of the problem, though, is if it doesn't connect, then it doesn't come down here. So, okay, let's do this part here. So this part... definitely see like this is almost like becoming a fleur-de-lis pattern. Or different idea here. If it's in this. Put it around like this. I don't know if I'm gonna like it as much, but necessary to maintain the pattern. Just wondering, kind of really liked. I mean, what if I... Oh, that's a thought. Because right now I'm kind of... I was like really digging it, and now I'm just kind of like not really digging it. Oh, we could do that. Oh yeah. Okay. I think I have an idea of what I want. Because that was just not a pleasing curve at all. So not as cool as I thought it would look. I do have to say, you know what I might do actually? What if... Is there there a way for me to come up to the doodad? See, then it like, yeah, because what I'm, if I do the doodad, which I really like the look of, I really like the look of that, like, part. What we could do is we could just have extend it. Extend it. Yeah, because I don't really like what it's doing right here. So what I could do is I could extend this a little bit. And then, yeah, oh yeah, we could do that. We could do that. Okay. So we could extend this. Now I'm just playing because I really like how that kind of looks. Okay, so that's like one loop here. Boop, 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 boop. Ooh, boop, boop, boop. Okay, I do like that. And then this one. But that one doesn't really work. Oh, hold on. Can I do this? Where it goes like this. Because see, I just don't like this pattern. This part here just makes me sad. So I'm thinking if I go with this. Scared to ink it. Scared. Because I haven't really quite decided what I want to do yet. Okay. So what I'm thinking is I go here, go down to this one. I have a feeling that this is kind of related to kind of like some number theory, where like if you have a certain number of intersections, you know, it can overlap nicely or not. Right now this is not overlapping nicely. I wonder. It's because I started with a 3. Ooh, yeah, you know, I think that would make a nicer pattern. What time is it? I want to do a corner piece. For some reason, I just kind of obsessed with trying to do a corner piece. The 4 pattern just not really working for me. You know what? We're gonna prep in a slightly different way. Okay. Hypothetically. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, so I have to kind of think this one through, because I want to do the triskill where the center is in the middle. So I do want to mark out trace on every other one. Okay. Oh my god. Oh wait. It's almost like I want to do hi cat. I kind of want to do like a modified one. So actually, yeah. Yeah. I want to try something. I'm kind of doing a modified tricycle skill, whatever it's called, because since I want to connect it in a corner, I want the ends of the trifold pattern to be on the perpendiculars, not on the 120s. So what I'm doing here is I'm marking out where I should draw my swoop-to-swoops. Okay. And then what I should be able to do is actually just draw my pattern. And then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to draw it like normal. Okay, so I do want it on here, so I'm going to start like so. And then what I'm going to do, where did it go? Oh, it's right here. Oh my god, don't do that. And then, let's see. Yeah, this is kind of creating sort of the pattern I was looking for. I wasn't necessarily wanting like these big parts, but you know what I could do is I could actually draw like swoops up. Yeah. Ooh. Let's see what happens. Yeah, because actually, I'm concerned about right here. What that's going to look like. So let me just quickly... Actually, no, that's not gonna... Actually, yeah, I could do it. Oh, and this is another case where it should have been shifted over, but too late. It's so funky because of the shifted. Actually, it's okay. We can have them doing that. Okay. Yeah, it's like 11, so I'm gonna just wrap this up. Definitely want to do it like this. Actually, no, this one looks pretty dope. Kind of like it. It's almost like a really decorative chain. Okay, so you know what? Let's go for it. Let's ink it. So when you're inking Celtic knots, you want to keep in mind the over-under sort of situation. So I decided that this part went under, so it's going to go over, but then it's going to come under this part. So what I like to do sometimes is to ink them with different colors, just so that way I can see where the complete loops are. It's kind of a fun. So let's see, this one is over. That means it's going to be under here. Under. Over. And then under. That part's getting a little confusing, so I'm going to leave it for the moment. Let's see, this is under, so therefore this part is over. Under, so then it's going to become over. So then it looks like this part kind of comes in, cutting through this. So it's like really sharp, but it is technically under, then it's going to be over. Over. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Let's see. Let's do gray for this last one. So this is one of my favorite parts about Celtic knots, is how they like interact with each other, and you can just kind of discover different patterns, and it's really beautiful, and it's just kind of meditative in a way. I love how this one is a ring that's knot that's being wrapped around this ring, and then if I had thought to do this first, I would have then just gone on to do the other one. And now that I'm thinking about the interlocking corners, is maybe that is what would have happened at the corners as well if I had just done them next to each other instead of overlapping. Because I think overlapping was kind of causing some issues, but I don't know. I'm gonna think about this pattern a little bit more because I want this to work. I think it could look really, really cool. And also it's a prevalent pattern in a lot of Celtic designs where they have like a border of knot patterns. So Anyways, thank you guys so much for going on this little journey with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And eat lots and lots of pie this Sunday. I mean, it's a national holiday, so it's basically an excuse to eat as much pie as you can. So have fun, be safe,